What is up, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that team directly and indirectly reached out to over 100,000 fathers in the world in 2022 and 2021. And we're on that trajectory right now. So as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles and a solution for someone's problem. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Please feel free to subscribe to the Dr. Vibe show on YouTube and also hit the notification button so you get notified when we do our Epic Conversations. Also, make sure you follow the Dr. Vibe show, not only on YouTube, but Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And if you are up to it, please, if you'd like to promote your business product or service on our platform, please email me at dr.vibe@thedrvibeshow.com. And it's another great conversation coming. We've had this friend on many times before, but this is a special event. We have a special event. For those who may or may not know, Dwayne Morgan is with us. And believe it or not, the 25th annual event that he's going to be putting on, we're going to be speaking with him about the 25th anniversary of Brothers Speak. So his time is tight because he's in demand globally, because he's all around the world. So we are very happy to have Dwayne Morgan with us this morning. Good morning, Dwayne. How we doing?
I'm excellent. How are you doing?
I'm doing outstanding with a fellow Scarboroughian. I know you're not in Scarborough living anymore, but Dwayne's wearing a Scarborough sweatshirt, and I say, I feel at home. Feel at home.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Most importantly, how is your wonderful daughter doing?
Daughter's great. She's, just doing her thing, trying to find her way, and, that's it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, our time is tight, so I'd just like to give some people some background on More Than Brothers Speak. Like, take us back to 25, maybe even 26 years ago.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because it's definitely not a show that I thought was going to be around for this long. It was created really as a one-off, just as a thing to do, and it ended up being so successful the first time, and people really came out and said, this is something that we need, that it's just kept on going. But the original idea came about after a trip to Philadelphia, and I had just received a random email about a poetry slam going on in Philadelphia. And at the time I had no idea what a poetry slam was, but it had something to do with poetry. And here I am doing poetry, and here's this thing, and I know nothing about it. So I'm just like, I need to find out what this thing is. So I borrowed my mom's van, got my sister, a couple friends, and we just drove to Philadelphia to find out what is this thing. And I ended up in the event. I ended up meeting all of these amazing artists. And I was like, man, it would be so good if there was a vehicle for some of these artists to be able to get to Toronto, because I think people in Toronto would love what I just heard and what I just experienced. And then I created When Brothers Speak as a vehicle to be able to get artists from different places to Toronto to speak about their experiences as Black people.
Nice. I'm doing you a misjustice because some people may or may not know who you are because they have a global audience. So can you give a little background about yourself? And then I'll have another question after that. So just introduce yourself. It's my rudeness, so please forgive me.
No problem. So my name is Dwayne Morgan, spoken word artist, poet, writer, producer, photographer. I wear a lot of hats depending on the day. And this year is the 30th anniversary that I've been performing on stage. proud Scarbarian, so I have a star on the Scarborough Walk of Fame.
Congratulations.
Performed in 18 countries around the world. I've written 14 books, have 10 albums. I've just done a lot of things in community and to promote community over the last 30 years.
Wonderful. Want to ask, how did poetry become your life?
I mean, that's an interesting story because I'm actually a shy introvert who does not like speaking to or in front of people. So I would never have imagined that my life would be speaking to and in front of people. And it wasn't until I think grade 12 where I was producing a Black History Month event at my high school, and I realized all my friends had talent. And so, when your kids watching all these people on stage, they get all the light. Nobody cares who organized the event or anything like that. So I was just like, yo, what can I do with no talent to get on stage with the rest of my friends? And I was just like, well, just write a poem. That's probably the easiest thing to do. That poem changed my life, so to speak. So that was like the first poem I ever wrote and got on stage and performed it in front of people. And people are like, you should write. That was good. So that's what started it. And then 30 years later, I'm still going.
Good stuff. Do you remember your first poetry performance?
Yeah, it was horrible.
Like most of us, right? Our first time out was not great.
In search of the true brother, and it was just looking at what it's like being young and Black at that time. And yeah, it was bad compared to where I've gotten now. But like I said, everybody starts somewhere, and everything is bad before it's good, right? So
good. When did you realize that this would be your journey? Like, you had your first performance, yeah, I'm good. But was there a moment or a few moments in the journey that you said, okay, this is going to be my core?
I mean, it's hard to really say because there wasn't really a blueprint for what I've done. So I couldn't say, oh, I'm going to follow in this person's footsteps and do something. So everything was kind of feeling things out. And then, there's at a certain point, people started offering me money. And I was like, okay, this is, you might be onto something here. And then I would just start meeting people who would say, oh, I heard you do this poem and it made me think this or feel this or whatever. And I was like, oh, people are actually paying attention to this stuff. So, I mean, if I had to identify things, it'd probably be like, little things like that. But, 30 years later, I still question, what am I doing here? Is this what I'm supposed to be, doing? So I think because there was never really a path, and because I've had to create a path that now lots of other people are following, it's always been that creating the path has been more of a impetus than, oh, I'm going to just go do this for myself. Now that I see that there are people watching me, I'm just like, okay, how can I create a path to make their journey easier than the one that I had?
How does it feel to be a creator of a path?
It's an interesting question because I don't think you often speak about it or think about it. You just do it. You're like, when you're shoveling the driveway, you don't really think about, I'm shoveling the driveway. You're just like, well, this snow's
you have to talk about winter, please. It's nice and sun. Come on, let it go. Can you push it for a few more weeks?
But it's one of those inevitable Canadian things, right?
Yeah.
So, but I think when I see people coming after me and I see the things that they're able to do, there's definitely a sense of pride in that. When I started out, there was no grants for spoken word, there were no priority neighborhoods, there were none of these things that young people have access to today. But a lot of those things came about as a result of my effort and people from my generation that we were doing things with. So I had to figure out, how do I do all of this stuff without that support? How do I do all this stuff without social media? How do I do all this stuff when the internet is just starting? So when I work and I mentor younger artists, like, I show them stuff from back in my day. Like, I have documents of people's names and phone number. And I'm like, I had to call every one of these people one by one and say, hey, there's an event coming. There wasn't social media where you could just post it somewhere and everybody would get it. like I have a database of like 1,000 names, and we had to write letters. We had to send
Yeah,
flyers.
you remember those days?
Yeah, we had to
Writing
put
letters.
flyers
Yeah,
in
you
the
and I.
mail, right? Print flyers, put them in the mail, bring them to the mailbox, and send them to people's house. And that's how people found out Brother
Yeah,
Speak was coming up or something was coming up. So,
yeah.
you know, when I see young people today, I mean, I'm proud of the things that they can do, but I also get very irritated with the ones who have so many excuses, because I'm like, you have
Mm.
so much at your disposal. I have no idea why these excuses exist, because, you know, I've done and had to do with none of this. Like when I think about what I could have done if I
With
had
what
the
you had now.
resources that exist today,
Yeah.
I'm like, I would be even further. So when I see young people who have all of this opportunity and don't even realize the opportunity that they have and are just squandering it or wasting it, or seeing, you know, the negative instead of what's positive in front of them, that's probably the most discouraging part.
Yeah, there's something still about doing the work,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And this is just from my lens. Those who make it compared to those who don't, a lot of times the work part is missing.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah,
a
and it's you know, some people think you just got to be talented or whatever. Like talented, who cares? You know how many talented people there are that are broke, that are at home, that are miserable, that are depressed. Are you working? Yes or no? That's it.
yeah.
Are you creating? Yes or no? Are you watching TikTok, or are you creating TikToks? Like it's two
Mm.
different things, right? So what are you doing with your time, and what is the return on your investment? So like that, ultimately at the end of the day, like even it's funny that you say that, because even when I mentor my younger artists, I say to them, y'all could probably write me under the table, but no matter what you do, you will never outwork me. It's just not gonna
Mm.
happen. And I set that as a bar for all of
Yeah.
them to try to outwork me. And I say, I don't care what you do, you will never outwork me.
Interesting you mentioned that. Many years ago at the Toronto International Film Festival, there was a gentleman who, I don't know if he still does, but at that time worked with Will Smith. And, you know, we got to chatting. He says, hey, why don't we go out? He says, why don't we go for lunch? I said, sure, no problem. And he seemed to know where he wanted to go. He was from Philadelphia. This guy
Mhm.
knew where he wanted to go, right? And I said, like, do you got any stories about Will for me? And he said, well, I said, I'll give you a story. He says, one time we were presenting a project with another studio to get, you know, get greenlit. And they were competing. And Will turned them and said, look, let me just get it straight to you. He said, let me compare it to this. Both you and I are on a treadmill and we're running. I ain't stopping until you drop off that treadmill.
Mhm.
Right? I said, bam, bam, right there, right there. I said, so doing the work is still important.
There's no other way to replace it. There's like and it doesn't matter who we are and what it is that we're trying to do. Everything comes down to, did you do the work?
Yeah.
Oh, how was your report card? Did you do the work? How are you in athletics? Did you do the work? Like
Mm-hmm.
everything comes down to, did you do the work? But because we live in this world of social media now where everybody sees the results,
Mm.
nobody realized those results required work, because everybody hides the work, because the job is, and I was talking to a young man that I just started mentoring the other day. I said, the job is to work hard and make it look easy, to not let people see all of the hard work and how hard it is, but to actually make them think that it's easy, that you just wake up and these things magically happen. But the reality is, you got to work hard to be able to do this podcast, to be able to do the thing with
Yeah.
Dove, to be able to do
Yeah.
and put yourself in certain positions.
Yeah.
It's not luck. It's not just, you know, the world is shining on you. It's no,
No.
I work to put myself there. And we live in a world where a lot of people want the glory but don't want to do the work that it takes to create, you know, the glory. So even like that whole analogy, you know, the moth to the flame, burnt by the fire, it's like people will be attracted to your light, and then when they see what it takes to keep the lights on, they're like, oh, no, 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 no. Or they try to dim your light, because it's like, that's just way too much work. I don't want to compete with you, with your drive, with your goals, with your dedication. So, you know, it becomes very difficult in that kind of sense to even have, you know, interpersonal relationships, because people don't understand the dedication and the focus that you have to have to your dreams, to your goals in order to achieve the things that you want to achieve.
Excellent. We have a few questions before we start talking about the event. And a fairly new friend of the Dr. Vibe show, the Food Plane from the US, he says, who were Dwayne's influences? Because it's the first time he's ever saw you, and he seems very interested. So who were some of your influences?
My influences were never really from poetry. My influences, I was influenced by people like Prince, for his dedication to his craft. I was inspired a lot by Madonna, because I never found Madonna to be particularly talented, but I think Madonna understood you don't have to be the most talented. You have to be great at marketing. You have to be great at entertaining. You have to be great at capturing people's attention. So I've always been able to like take bits and pieces from different people that I like. Oh, I really like that about, that person and how they do things and conduct themselves. And I tell people all the time, inspiration is everywhere. Presented in front of you, you can find so much inspiration and influence in people. Now, there's no one person. It's like, oh, I follow this person, because humans are humans and every human is flawed. So I take the personality traits that I see in people and be like, oh, I really like that about this person and that about this person, and try to create this imaginary body of influence that keeps me going.
Nice. See, the Food Plane loves what you're saying here. It's safe to fantasize about being successful. Doing the work is where the fear comes in for many. Fear of failure and or success.
Yeah, you know what? Absolutely. And, again, we live in this world that demonizes failure, which makes absolutely no sense. Well, I mean, it's done somewhat deliberately, because most people who are successful, no, everyone who is successful knows you have to fail to be successful. It is just part of the equation. You're going to lose, you're going to fall down, things aren't going to work out according to how you think they should work out. That is part of it. Do you get up? Do you keep trying? Do you figure out what parts did I get right? What did I learn? How can I position myself to go again? That is part of how we become successful. But I think as long as we have this idea where this fear is allowed to exist, then it keeps more people in their comfort zone. It keeps more people not wanting to go out and try to achieve their goal, because that fear becomes so present. But every successful entrepreneur, everybody who's out there knows you have to get past that fear, and you have to fail, and you got to fail and make it look good. You got to fail forward. You got to fail and learn from all of those failures. That is the only way to be successful. Otherwise, the safety net is go get a job and fulfill somebody else's dreams. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is an honest living. But if you have a personal dream in your heart, in your spirit, the only way to achieve that dream is to get past the fear and to embrace the failure.
Great author John Mackel said, fail fast. Fail fast. And the Food Plane is saying
all of the failures.
Yeah. Food Plane saying, well said. So in our remaining moments, let's talk about the 25th anniversary.
All right.
What do you want to share about it? Would love to hear, our family would love to hear about what's coming up with this amazing yearly event.
All right, so the 25th anniversary of When Brothers Speak is going to be happening on Saturday, December 9th in Toronto. And for those people who do not know, the show every year brings together 6 Black men from different places to just speak about their experiences of being Black wherever it is that they may live. So this year, we have Sully Breaks coming from the UK. It's been a minute since we've had an artist who's come from the UK. We have Ontario's Poet Laureate, Randella J, who's going to be performing. We have Eddie Lardy from Hamilton, who was just representing Canada in the International Poetry Slam. We have Nigel Birch from Toronto as well. And we have a brother named Sean William, who's coming from Oakland. And he was just last week nominated for a Grammy for Best Spoken Word Recording.
What?
So definitely, it is going to be an amazing night of just listening to Black men speak. And this is so important because in our society, we often say we don't hear from the Black men. And I say, really, I do a show every year where all you hear is from the Black men. So you should be there and be a part of this event because it's not just a poetry reading. It is an experience. It is a roller coaster ride that we bring people on through the stories that we choose to share and that we choose to tell. And this one is going to be a power-filled night. So I'm very excited for what we have planned.
Has this been the work, the heart work? Because I think people like yourself and myself, it's become heart work, not hard work anymore, because we're working from our heart. Has the setup for this one been any different or more special because it's the 25th?
I wouldn't say it's been any different. I think, Randell, who's the poet laureate, through his organization, Rise Edutainment, we've partnered and we've worked together to bring Suli over. So, I don't often get to work with, other people or whatever. So that was great because Rise has their final event of the year on December 8th. And then my event's December 9th. And we said, well, why don't we just work together, pool our resources, and be able to bring this guy over that we've both wanted to work with for some time. So, that was unique. And then again, we couldn't have predicted that, Sean would get nominated for a Grammy. So that just kind of happened. He had already been booked before that happened. So, we're just trying to, ride with it. It's going to be, again, I said, it's been a minute since we've had someone from the UK come over and give that UK experience of what is it to be Black and male in the UK. So, I mean, it's every year it's special. Again, because I can't think of any other events that are happening with just Black men speaking
on a consistent basis. I think we have to put that out. You've been doing this consistently for 25 years, providing a safe and brave place for Black men to speak and a safe and brave place for people to listen to them.
Yes, absolutely. And that is the beauty of the show. And everybody who comes for the first time, they're like, how have I not been here? Like that. And I say, I don't know. How have you not been here? Because as a community, we should all be there. Like the minute I say the show is coming, to me, this show should be sold out. This is a no-brainer, right? Because it only holds 500 people, right? So this should be, sold out with people are like, yo, I have to be there every year. However, in Toronto, we still have this thing where we struggle to support our own.
We'll leave that for another conversation because you're just dropping that at the end now. So that I'm going to have you come back. You give me a good idea. I think I need to have a panel conversation with some specifically Black men about that subject.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's a very unfortunate thing, especially like when I travel and go to other cities and see how they rally around anybody in their city. Like Toronto, we still, for such a large city, we still have a lot of work to do. And we can't keep looking at, oh, they loved him in New York, so now I'm going to love him now. He's been here. Why didn't you love him when he was here? Like, why do we still have to go someplace else and be validated in order to be validated at home? Where in other cities, especially in the States, they rock with you. They're like, yo, you're our guy from here. We got you. Right. So that's definitely something we have to speak about with the Black community in Toronto.
Absolutely. 25 years. How has it changed you?
I mean, I think the doing this for so long has changed me in the sense that, as I said before, I didn't expect that I'd be doing this for so long. It just kind of started off as this one-off show that then grew into something else. But it allowed me to imagine what is possible because, I was doing these shows, in these dingy lit clubs and stuff like that. And then I was able to bring it to a theater, so when people come, for anyone who hasn't been before, everybody has a seat. There's an usher that brings you to your seat. I was able to elevate the experience of poetry that people were having. And it really allowed me to see that how I thought of it, there was another level. I could see more, I could do more, I could imagine more. So I think it changed me in allowing me to see the possibilities, but also how I limited myself through my own thinking. And I had to be able to get past that to bring it to where it is today. And today, we've done the show in Toronto, in Ottawa, in Buffalo. We're doing a special school performance in Hamilton, this year. So, it definitely allows me to see that there's something here that is marketable and is important, not just a one-off to bring these artists to Toronto, but something much bigger than that, something that is needed in the community, especially when we look at mental health and all of these kinds of things, creating space for us to be able to speak and let go of things. And an older gentleman stopped me one year and said, every time I come here, it's the only time I truly feel seen. I feel like somebody just spoke my life experience. And I'm like, that's what we try to do on that stage.
Well, I know we're coming up against time, but just from your lens, what are you hearing from the hearts and minds of Black men?
Yeah, I mean, it's diverse, because I think there's definitely a lot of struggles. There's, again, because of social media and these kind of things, there's a lot of pressures in terms of who you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to have, when you're supposed to have it, all of these kinds of things. And the reality is life is nuanced because none of those things factor in race. None of those things factor in economics. None of those, benchmarks, factor in mental health and other things that people have to deal with. So when you're just looking at these arbitrary benchmarks that, people post online and it gets lots of views and goes viral and people think, oh, that's what's supposed to happen. It's very easy to feel down on yourself if that's not what's happening in your life. So I think there's a lot of discussion around, purpose and value and who are we, and kind of discovering ourselves in this landscape. And earlier this year I brought 16 people with me to South Africa.
Yes.
And on the final night, one gentleman, he just like broke down and he's like, yo, I finally understand myself, from this experience, from being in Africa, from seeing things through my own lens and not just what people have told me, where I come from. And it was such a beautiful moment to see this guy just like, yo, I know who I am now. So nobody can't tell me anything about who I am and who I'm supposed to be. So I think there's still this element of discovery and trying to feel secure in owning and taking up space and knowing that we belong wherever we find ourselves.
Yeah, I love so many wonderful things you shared, and time doesn't permit now, but want to expand about discovery. Because I think, especially if you're a Black man, you should be continually discovering your true self.
Mm-hmm.
It's a journey.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely a journey. Ryan Singh says, great. I've recorded this show and it is great. Also, yeah, we got Dr. Tachi here from Florida saying good morning all. She's a host of a great show called Mediascope on Wednesdays, Instagram Live, 5 p.m. And then 6 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitch. So before we let you go, Dwayne, any last words, either words-wise or poetry-wise, for Black men and those who love them?
I think just be gentle. Life is difficult, it's and we're all, no matter what you see on social media, no matter, what you hear in these podcasts and stuff, everybody's going through stuff. Like, yes. Everybody. There's nobody that I meet who isn't going through something. So compassion, empathy, hugs, these things are so important. They're simple, but they're so important because the reality is everyone is struggling with something. So, that would be my word to everybody who is out there. And of course, go to Ticketmaster and get your tickets for one this week. because, that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about some stuff, and we're going to have some compassion and empathy and some hugs, and we're going to have a great time. So if you're hearing this and you have the means, definitely hit up Ticketmaster. I want to see everybody out at the show on December 9th.
Well, just want to say thank you for what you have done, are doing, and will be doing, because I know the train hasn't stopped.
Absolutely.
There's, I think, and just from my lens, there's at least as much work to do now than when we started our journeys.
Yeah, it's different work. The work evolved.
Yes. Yeah. So everyone, there it is. There's a flyer. The link is there. I've shared it on all the platforms that are watching this. So you have no excuses. Not say, oh, Dr. Bob, I couldn't copy that. No, it's in your comment section. It's a done deal. So Dwayne, I want to say thank you again for your global impact. It's not just a Scarborough thing. It's not a Canada thing. Your global impact, and continue. And you always have a home here, a safe and brave space here. So thank you. And we'll be in touch. Keep the faith. And don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and keep the faith.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And give yourself grace too also. Take care, brother. All right, everybody. Epic conversation with Dwayne Morgan. Always like to have him on. He's always got stuff to do. Always got lots of stuff to do. So there's the link for the event. Please, if you can make it. And now, you know what? If I can't make it, I'm still going to buy tickets and contribute to the cause. I'd like to be physically there. I'm going to commit to the cause, because it takes time, energy, money to put on these things. And Dwayne's been doing it for 25 years. All right. So that's it for today. As always, have a few takeaways. First off, you want to get a hold of me. Website, the drvibeshow.com. Email address, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow. No, I still saying dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, The Dr. Vibe Show. Instagram, The Dr. Vibe Show again. X, Twitter, when I'm there, which is not a lot these days, at drvibeshow.com. So a few more things before we call it. Please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube especially, and hit the notification button, and follow the Dr. Vibe Show again, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. If you want to advertise your business, product, or service on the platform, please feel free to contact me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. So that is it. That is all. So as always, want to say, live your life. Let me just do this. I'll take that down. There we go. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. God bless. Peace, well, keep the faith, and walk good.